viewing purposes, the ability to do or the demand for an internet pay-per-view isn't going to be enough to sustain an operation and keep going. So
right. And I kind of feel bad for you guys because, to be honest with you, Paul, you're starting off late. Everybody else is trying to be at the whip competing against one another. And then you only have until maybe October to race, and then cold weather sets in. And unless the idea has been, let's do some Saturday or Sunday afternoon shows to try to make up what you lost. Has there been talks about that, Paul?
Well, there have been a couple of racetracks here that have been running more midweek shows than they would have been, running them without fans, but doing them at I want to say a discounted rate from what the standard pay-per-view price would be, and you figure roughly that an internet pay-per-view in this region runs for maybe $3 to $5 higher than what the cost of an adult admission ticket would be.
Right.
So if you run a show where you don't have big block or small block modifieds as a headline class, like we did for our opener at Utica Rome Speedway, we made the sportsman class the headliner, our pro stock class, which is like a street stock, Bomber, Challenger, Charger, along those lines. The pay-per-view for that was only $10. And it did it did a fantastic number. It didn't hurt that it was the first event in the state like it, but I don't think if it had been the third or fourth event that would have mattered.
Right.
The appetite was there, and by cutting the overhead of the show and then making it an affordable and attractive price for a viewer, it turned out to be a win-win all the way around.
Bruce Barrett.
Yeah, one of the things, Paul, that we've noticed in the races that we've been able to cover in the last month or so, people who are coming back to the track and the municipalities are now allowing these tracks to open and things of that nature. We still need to remember that, social distancing, and we're seeing a lot of that here. It's important for our fans to realize they need to maintain that social distancing because, that's going to be the key to these tracks being able to open up.
Yeah, and that's something that I have to give a lot of credit to our racers and competitors in this part of the country. I think it was because we were being exposed to extremely high case numbers and death rates on a daily basis, and the majority of that, coming out of the metropolitan New York area because it's a higher concentration of population.
Right.
But that really served as a wake-up call to people. And I also think they were looking at how the reopening process went here and the fact that, cases were brought down and there was a downward trend. And it's like, okay, we're going to trickle this out a little bit. All right, we're still doing good. We're going to trickle out a little bit more. And I think the mentality of the racers is, hey, you know what? If this is what we have to do to be able to run and ensure that we can keep running and not go backwards and be shut down, then we're going to do whatever it is they tell us we need to do. And that's been the general attitude. Has been extremely cooperative, extremely friendly, I think it's been a good example for other forms of entertainment, other forms of sports in our area are kind of watching what we're doing as an industry and saying, okay, these guys are getting after it and they're doing okay with this. So.
Talking with Motorsports in the Northeast with Paul Small. A few more minutes with him. By the way, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, special start time will be full throttle. Full throttle is everything in the world of pavement motorsports. We'll talk about NASCAR. And Paul, I'll have you on here because I know you're a NASCAR guy like I am. The All-Star race moved from Charlotte to Bristol. Good or bad?
I think it's a move that's necessitated primarily from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
Now we know that NASCAR and its partner racetracks are able to do the without things ban, at least in the short term, because of the television revenue involved. But it wouldn't hurt to be able to put some fannies in the seats.
30,000 plus could be there.
Exactly, and believe me, that 30,000 number, they will hit that, I don't think, without any issue.
Right.
And also, from shall we say, an artistic standpoint, don't get me wrong, I love Charlotte. I love the racetrack, love the facility, love the people.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea of the All-Star race being on a slam-bang bowling
Half mile.
short track.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Where-
Katie barred the door, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I think.
yeah,
Hey,
where-
look
where
what we
the crew
saw.
chief-
Look what we
you know,
saw a
the crew
couple of
chief
weeks
tells
ago.
Yeah, the crew chief tells you bring it home in a bucket or don't bring it home.
That's right.
I'm serious. Look at the race we saw a couple of weeks ago between, Logano and Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski. I mean, what a race we saw. I would say probably, Paul, that was probably one of the best Cup races I had seen in probably 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was a good show.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They were being nice because they were point racing. An all-star race, there ain't no point racing.
That's right.
So you know what? I think this is going to prove to be a shot in the arm for the all-star race because I got to be honest with you. I mean, we've had some stellar moments in them in the history of it, but I think in recent years it's kind of gotten stale.
Yes,
and this is a good shake-up of the formula.
That's
something that I think NASCAR is coming around to the point where I think they're starting to understand that, we do need to shake up the formula.
I'm going to tell you, the last time I thought the All-Star race was probably one of the best in the wild since the 90s was back in 2018, guys, if you remembered when they done that whole package that they did without the restrictor plates, or they put restrictor plates on the cars and had that package that they actually ended up making a full-time thing now in the series last year and this year. This is my take, and I know this is a dirt show, but it works. The package that they use works for some tracks, Bruce and Paul, but it doesn't work for others. That's what I'm coming to find out.
Well, the thing that I'm excited about on the All-Star race, okay, these are your All-Stars, and they're going back to a short track where they really, we went this past weekend up to Franklin County in Virginia.
Yes. Yep.
And when we got there, we said that we read the history of the track. I mean, names like Earnhardt, Elliott, Pearson, they all cut their teeth at that track. Well, they're going to take these all-stars back to a short track. I just think it's going to be amazing to watch. I just do.
And to bring it around full circle, the fact that it's going to Bristol this year means Tony Stewart is wringing his hands saying, I'm one step closer to having it at Eldora.
That's true. And I was going to say that, Paul, do you think that it's time for NASCAR to move on to different dirt tracks besides Eldora?
Well, heck, ARC has been doing it for how many years now? And nobody remembers the fact that they go to Springfield and DuQuoin every year.
Two
and those
times
races
a year.
are some of those races are the best races on their calendar, and they're running hand-me-down Cup cars. Duh. Of course, absolutely NASCAR should look at doing dirt racing. I think it might be entertaining. Obviously you can go to a place like Eldora. It has the infrastructure to do it. But how about, we take a page out of the old playbook. Didn't we throw Clay on Bristol to run late models and sprint cars at one time?
That's right, 2000.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's no reason we couldn't do it and put NASCAR stock cars on that puppy.
Wow, that'd be pretty cool.
Boy,
I think you're onto something
awesome.
there, Paul. Yeah. Hey, Paul is going to be traveling down to our neck of the woods next week and staying for a while. Paul, real quickly, shameless plug. I know some of the stuff's going to be on the dirt track of Charlotte. Talk about the stuff you're doing with WKA this week, coming up next week in 4th of July.
Actually, our Charlotte Karting Challenge is actually being spread out over 2 weekends, so we can do the social distancing thing. The Manufacturers Cup event on the infield road course is going to be next weekend, and then the following weekend on Friday, Saturday, we'll be doing the kart racing on the dirt track at Charlotte for the Dirt Oval Series, or the Speedway Dirt as we call it, and then the road racing series. That way we'll have the big track completely to themselves. They'll be able to run the full Roval, which they weren't able to do last year. So,
wow. And that was something me and you were going to check out last year, was they were actually going to run the Roval, and then they changed their mind on that. So that's really, really cool that they're actually going to have karts racing on the Roval.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh yeah,
for sure, definitely. And
Yeah.
and I will tell you this as well, as we still stay into the world of dirt motorsports. What a karting event that is coming to Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was so big last year. Mackie Flood done a phenomenal job on track prep. It was very professionally ran. I know we had some weather delays. A matter of fact, Bruce, I drove all the way from Kentucky State all the way down to Charlotte to hang out with my buddy Paul that Saturday before the big races happened. I think there's probably like 8 or 10 races left, and what we saw was really, really a good show, Paul, for sure.
Yeah, what we saw was essentially Daytona-style kart racing on a dirt track because that surface was big enough, wide enough, and smooth enough that it incorporated something that's not always prevalent in kart racing, and that's the whole concept of drafting.
That's right.
Which made it real interesting.
That's right. It
Wow.
was very fun, for sure. And one of the things that I love too, there were so many skeptical people is the word I'm trying to think of. The unknowns, interest of safety, worried about safety. And to be honest with you, Paul, they did a phenomenal job keeping everybody protected.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've got the whole same crew coming back to run the show again this year. So I would anticipate, an improvement on where we already started from last year. So
we have to go back to and to, where did we have dinner at? Was it Iron Thunder? Where do we go to? No, Twin Peaks. We got to go back to Twin Peaks for dinner. But let's not have a $200 alcohol post-party bill. You get to hang it out. You get to hang it out with Paul, and we get to have the after party. By the way, this is the after party. We're working. We're not drinking. We're working. But
right.
Just hanging out, enjoying social time, and then the next thing you know, you got the bill. I was like, oh no! So yeah, but Paul, as I said, bud, as long as I've known you and I have grown into where I have become in my career as a broadcaster, I always remember the people that I worked with, and I'll never forget working with you at Southern National in Orange County with the ISMA Supermods. And do you miss announcing those cars? Do you miss them? Do you get to see them anytime?
I haven't had a chance to see an ISMA Supermod race in quite a while.
Really?
It's just one of those things where there's only so many race days a week, and when you're working most of them, it's very hard to find the time to get out and catch the shows. I do know that at Oswego they made a major change last year for the first time to make the non-wing super configuration a little friendlier for conversion from an ISMA wing super, and I think that produced some benefit. Obviously, they're waiting to get going just like everybody else is. That they want to be able to have fans there. But yeah, I still follow along with the supers. Still love the supers. I mean, you know what? I watch a couple of guys race a couple of beat up, falling apart Jeeps around a ring of dirt in the backyard. So
sounds like Days of Thunder. Bruce Barrett, your final question for Paul Small before we get out of here tonight on Red Clay Life.
Well, Paul, some of the races that are be coming up in the Northeast. What are some of the big events that'll be coming here soon in that area?
Okay, well, I'm going to have to speak from a traditional standpoint because, like I said, we're so week to week, just getting back going, that it's really hard to know what is going to happen down the pipeline. Obviously, the crown jewel of what we have up here is still Super Dirt Week, no longer at the New York State Fairgrounds. May she rest in peace, but that's where they throw clay on the Oswego Speedway and let the dirt car divisions, the sportsmen, small and big block modifieds, pro stocks, go at it and kind of do their thing. That event's usually Columbus Day weekend in October, so I'm hoping that we're going to be back to pretty much normal by then. The first 360 sprint car race in New York State is actually happening tonight, about 15 minutes from where I'm at Land of Legends Raceway, formerly known as the Canandaigua Speedway. So we're finally getting some of the touring 360 groups back in, and then from there, I mean, honestly, who knows? Right now, most tracks are just happy to be able to open up and and run something that resembles a race program. I know a lot of people, a lot of the racers here remarked, boy, it's weird to look up and see the grandstands empty.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds
Oh,
different, with the sound echoing off the grandstands and stuff like that. For me as an announcer, I don't know that it's that much different, especially when you're doing internet pay-per-view, because you're calling what you see on the screen anyway.
That's right.